Chapter 9 of A Different Cowboy by Joe Jones. Night falls and they lay down together underneath the stars above. "Wow," says Tessa. "What's that, honey?" asks Johnny. "Oh, it's just, I ain't ever looked up at the stars like this before. There's so many. It doesn't seem real. I mean, it just testifies to how great God is and knowing He calls all the stars by name." Johnny looks over at Tessa. "Well, it's what the Bible says." Johnny grins and looks back up at the stars. The night is silent except for the crackling of the campfire nearby. Tessa lays her head on Johnny's chest. "Johnny," she says. "Yes, dear? You ever get scared?" "Scared of what?" he asked. "You know, just scared of being out here in the open in another place you ain't ever been before." "Yeah, I get scared, Tess. Scared of not being there for you. That's the only thing I'm scared of. But as for sleeping out here under the stars in the open, nah, never have. I was raised most of my life this way. It's just the way of a cowboy. And besides, I feel safe when I have this laying beside me." He reaches over and holds up his rifle. "Yeah, I ain't scared neither." "No?" he asks. She looks at him and says, "Not one bit. Out here in the open like this, under all the stars in a new place, I feel safe as long as I have this beside me." "My rifle?" Johnny asks. "No, not your rifle, Johnny. You." 3 days later, they made it to Tucson, Arizona. They were on a hilltop overlooking the city. "See that down there? That's it. That's where we're headed," Johnny says. "Well, let's go," says Tessa. Johnny sits there next to her in the wagon quietly and then says, "We've got to wait till nightfall. Then we'll ride in and I'll get us a room at the hotel downtown. We can't let these people know we're together or we'll face the same trouble we faced back home." Night falls and they ride into the streets of Tucson. Tessa stays inside the covered wagon peeking out. They ride past the saloon and hear a bar brawl going on inside. Men yelling and bottles breaking. Johnny hears Tessa whisper, "Oh my God, this is another bad town." Johnny turns his head to the inside of the wagon behind him and whispers, "This is the West, darling, and the West is wild. Also, there's a lot of money in this town, as I said before. When you got a lot of money, you're going to have a lot of crime. So we're going to lay low and keep to ourselves as much as we can. Remember, it's just a few weeks." Tessa trusts Johnny and nods her head. They ride on through the streets. They pass the jailhouse. "I wonder what the law is like here," Johnny thinks to himself. But no matter what the law was like there, Tessa knew they probably wouldn't be very welcoming to her. They pass a few cowboys on the street talking. As they pass, they notice that Johnny is new to town, and they watch as they ride by. Johnny tips his hat to them, but they don't move a muscle. Must be the tough guys in town," he whispers. They reach the hotel and Johnny instructs Tessa to wait outside. He ties up Ranger to the horse post and walks inside. He is greeted by an old man at the front counter. "Howdy, stranger," says the old man. "Howdy, I'd like to rent a room, please," Johnny replies. "Okay, do you just want one night?" "No, a few weeks, actually." "Oh, few weeks, huh?" the old man says as he scratches his chin. "So you didn't just have a fight with your old lady. You must be new to town. Headed west to California?" the old man asked. "No, this is as far west as I'm going. Here to make a few bucks and then head back home." The old man grabs a key and turns around to Johnny and says, "Where's home?" "East Texas. How much do I owe you for 3 weeks?" The old man grins and says, "For 3 weeks, it'll be $18. Johnny throws a $20 bill on the counter and says, "Keep the change." "There's 2 outhouses out back. Breakfast is served every morning at sunrise downstairs. Here's your key and welcome to Tucson." And with that, Johnny takes his horse and wagon around back and sneaks Tessa in the hotel. They walk in the room together. "It's not much, but it's home for now," he says to her. She smiles and says, "Honestly, anything is better than sleeping on the ground outside. That just ain't for me." "Tessa, you can stay here while I'm at work every day. You'll be safe here. Now, I don't know how they'll treat you here if you've seen in town, so that choice is up to you. If you want to leave the room and venture downtown, here's some money. Just don't tell anybody you're here with me." "Okay, Johnny." "I'm sorry, Tessa, but you know it's got to be that way. I love you, honey, and I'll see you in the morning." And with that, they fall asleep together. The next day, Johnny woke up early. He headed downstairs, and as promised, there was breakfast. He made him a big plate and brought it back to the room for him and Tessa to share. He repeated this process during the course of their stay in Tucson. A week and a half had gone by, and Johnny was quick to find work. The town was finishing up the construction of the new courthouse, and Johnny was much needed. They would often hear gunshots and screaming at night coming from down the street at the saloon. Sometimes just drunk cowboys having too good of a time, and they come out of the saloon firing their pistols into the sky, shouting. Other times it was calls from people cheating during poker games and 2 cowboys battling it out with their pistols down in the street. In the next room, they would often hear the headboard banging against their wall, sometimes knocking the picture off onto the floor. And other nights, Johnny and Tessa would give them the same treatment in return. Cowboys would always bring the night girls to the hotel, and when they were done with them, the night girls would often knock on Johnny's door asking if he was lonely through the door, but Johnny never opened it. A drunken prostitute could be just as dangerous as a sober outlaw. One day Johnny was finishing up the roof on the courthouse. He came down the ladder to get more material and saw Tessa walking down the street. Their eyes met as she walked by, but neither said anything. She kept walking as if they had never met. Johnny looked around at the other white people on the street walking, and no one seemed to be bothered by her presence in the city. Johnny smiled and went back to work. Later that night, when Johnny got home, he asked Tessa how it was walking here all alone. "It wasn't as bad as back home. I mean, occasionally I would get a mean look, but not so much that it made me want to go back to the room. I think people accept me here. Maybe they'll accept us, Johnny." "No, Tessa, they won't," he yells at her. "Don't be fooled by their kindness." "Well, Johnny, at least I'm willing to try. I'm not ashamed of our love," she screams back. "Neither am I. I'm trying to keep us alive, Tess. And I'm trying to keep our love alive, Johnny. I think our love can change the world. I think it needs to be seen. And ever since we've gotten to this town, I've been locked up in this room every day while you were at work, and it's driving me crazy." Johnny gets close to her face and says, "Then what the hell did you come along for?" Tessa then slaps Johnny in the face and screams, "Because I love you. Does that mean anything to you?" She shakes her head. "Maybe I was a fool to fall for you. Maybe you don't care about me like you say you do." Johnny grabs her by the arms and says, "Tessa, damn it, I do. I'm just trying to protect you here. Get your hands off of me, Johnny." She pulls herself away from him and walks out, slamming the door. Johnny sits down on the bed and puts his head in his hands. A few minutes go by and Tessa does not return to the room. Johnny begins to get worried. It was already dark outside and things got bad in town when the sun went down. Johnny then hears a scream from outside down the street. He quickly rushes to the window to see what the ruckus is. He sees two men grappling a woman, trying to take her away. He sees that the woman is Tessa. He climbs out of the window off the hotel, jumping off the balcony and landing in the dirt street below. He runs to the scene as quick as he can, reaching for his pistol, realizing he left it in the room by the bed. She screams as they tear at her dress, trying to rape her. Johnny yells, and the two men notice Johnny running at them. Johnny engages them, punching one and then the other. Tessa is able to get free, and Johnny yells for her to run back to the hotel. Through the tears, she screams, "Johnny!" He gets punched in the face, knocked to the ground, and then screams, "Go!" She runs back to the hotel crying. Every time she looks back, she sees the two men standing over Johnny, punching and kicking him. "No! No!" she cries. "Help! Help!" she screams. She continues to run until she sees the building that says Marshall. She tries to open the door, but it's locked. She bangs on the window, and a man with a badge answers. He sees that her nightgown is torn and her left breast is exposed. He assumes she was attacked, and she pulls him into the street, and he sees Johnny being jumped by the duo. He runs down the street yelling to the attackers to stop. He then stops and aims his rifle in the air and fires. The men then stop. They are then arrested as she rushes over to Johnny, bleeding on the ground, hurt badly. "I'm sorry, Johnny," she cries. "I love you, Tess. I'm sorry too." She sits him up against the front of the general store where she was attacked and squats down and hugs him. "I shouldn't have yelled at you, Tess. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have lost my temper like I did. I just wanted you to understand that there are still bad people in this town, too. I know, Johnny." The marshal ties the men's wrists behind their backs and walks the men over to Tessa and Johnny. "Did these men try to rape you?" asked the marshal. The men look at Tessa with hate in their faces. She slowly nods her head yes. One spits in her direction, and the other one yells, "This ain't over, bitch!" "Settle down," yells the marshal. "Your crime isn't attempted rape on this here woman. Your crime is nearly beating this man to death." Tessa and Johnny both are shocked to hear this news. Johnny struggles to his feet and says, "Marshal, they attacked her." The marshal looks down at the ground and then back up at Johnny and says, "There's no law against that here. She's black. If she was white, they'd hang." Tessa begins to cry again. She holds on to Johnny and says, "Let's go, Johnny." Johnny looks over at the marshal and says, "This is bullshit. There needs to be some real justice in this town." The marshal looks at Johnny and says, "You watch your mouth, boy. Justice been served tonight." This concludes Chapter 9 of A Different Cowboy by Joe Jones. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you.